morning, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to Power Talks with Beth and Melody in the morning. Welcome to the program. I am Melody Cedarstrom. Well, you all know my co-host Beth Ann. She's off for today and tomorrow. I think maybe she's getting even with me for being gone 2 days last week for jury duty, but don't know. I think she's actually doing some work, and then I think she's taken a day off to visit some folks of hers. Today I have a special guest, my co-host from Financial Survival, Alfred Adesk. He's going to join us for this whole hour, and I want to make sure that you all tune in to Financial Survival program with Alfred Adesk and myself. It's aired Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, and you can listen to us at my website, dgscoins.com. Just go to the radio page, and you will find us live, and we also have the archives, so if you missed any programs, they are always there for you to view at your pleasure. And so I'd like to welcome Alfred Adesk to the program. Good morning, Al.
Good morning, Melody.
I have you up a little early today, do I not?
Well, it's a little early for radio. You know, so we do a daily program from my time, 4 to 5. Or 3 to 4, in the Central Time. 5 days a week, plus I do a couple of evening programs. And this is a little bit off my time clock.
Well, we're going to get you woken up here, and I don't think you drink coffee, do you?
Once in a while.
Just once in a while?
Only if it's an emergency. I have it behind a little glass. In case of emergency, break glass, and there's a hot cup of coffee back there, but I haven't needed it for 6-8 weeks now. So.
Well, usually the first segment of the program, we kind of just go over some interesting topics, and there certainly is a lot of information, a lot of news, of course, with what happened in Charlotte and the changes that we're seeing across the country since then that has been occurring, the changes in the president's different councils, business councils with the multinational corporations, and everyone trying to remove memorials, and flags are burning, and it certainly has been a turmoil for this country, and I think this mainstream media projects just as much hate as what they are complaining about to some degree. So a lot of that is going on. I came across an article this morning about L.A. homeless. And L.A., we talked about this briefly, how their liberal policies are probably attracting. They have a 23% increase in Los Angeles County's neighborhoods compared with 2006. That's just this year. They still got a few more months to go. They have 50.
And you say a 23% increase in the number of homeless people.
Number of homeless people, yes, it has spiked 23%.
So does that mean they're creating more homeless people, or does that mean they're attracting more homeless people?
It's probably a combination of both. You know me and my both, Al.
Yeah, I know that. I ask a silly question, and you get a both answer. Yeah.
The typical reasons why people become homeless, of course, they can't pay the rent because they don't have jobs. Their description that the Los Angeles County Homeless Authority is claiming is some are leaving a violent situation at home. Some are left on their own because of the death of a loved one or a spouse that they relied upon. They can't pay their rent, so the options they take to the street. I think the reasons are probably a little more deeper than that. And
like I say, there's 2 points here. One is the economy creating more homeless people? And 2, is the government providing benefits for homeless people that attract them from other parts of the country?
And I agree with those. And I think especially with the immigration issue, you certainly have seen California come out and supporting the immigration, and I wonder if you don't have a lot of illegals also now changing their locations and going to California for those benefits.
Well, but going for those benefits, going for sanctuary cities.
Going to sanctuary cities.
That's another one of these situations. And what we're talking about, this is an indictment of the left in general. The same people, the same mentality that laid the foundation for the destruction of the former Soviet Union that is laying the foundation for the destruction of Venezuela. It's laying the foundation for the destruction of Illinois. The left controls and what follows, right? Chaos and some sort of a collapse. And I don't doubt we're seeing other states. Oh, let's have sanctuary cities where criminals can come here. All right, fine, invite the criminals. Let's see how you enjoy it. Let's see, you want to bring people in who enter this country illegally? Fine, go ahead, invite them up there. See how long you enjoy it. I mean, there's a problem here where there are people who want to promote ideas that are not really supported by common sense. They have some idea that we can do anything we want in politics. We'll just, flip out the magic wand and make things happen. And maybe that doesn't work. And maybe it lays a foundation. We try this stuff with magic wands. I mean, Chicago and Cook County, Chicago is the city that works. Illinois, allegedly, I think, is the state that works. What they mean is they engage in corrupt behavior, but it works. All right? That's what they have meant. They haven't said it, but that's what they've implied. Well, let's see, we got a time thing coming in here. I think I'm not sure.
No, we're good, Al. We're good.
All right. Just a little. I don't know. I'm just going to the point that what we are seeing in a lot of these problems is really evidence that the leftist philosophy, the collectivist philosophy, socialism, communism, what they are doing, they fail. They are a parasitical political philosophy. They don't provide anything. Now, and I'm not here to defend the rich. All right? Those people are as big a bunch of hustlers as the welfare queens on the south side of Chicago. They bribe government to give them money. The only people that are pulling the plow in this country are the middle class, which is being hollowed out. Yeah. They're the ones who actually work for a living, and the poor people say, make those middle class give us some money. And the rich people say, no, make the middle class give us some money. And both of the rich and the poor, they get to Congress, they get to the Senate, and the poor try to do it with votes, and the rich try to do it with money, and they try to bribe the Senate, they try to bribe the House of Representatives to pass laws to make it legal to take money from people who actually work for a living and give it to people who don't. So I don't know. To me, this homeless thing, this is part of the leftist agenda.
I agree.
It's going to blow up in everybody's face.
And I agree. And then what's interesting is, the citizens of Los Angeles County, they vote, they pass laws to increase the sales tax to allow this for them to be taken care of. And what they're doing is they've actually passed, it's a pilot program, it's what we started getting into, a pilot program that will allow homeowners to build a second dwelling on their property to house these homeless people. And it was approved with a 4-to-1 vote by the Board of Supervisors. Now, homeowners in unincorporated communities will qualify to receive up to $75,000 to build a second dwelling. Well, they only allocated $550,000 in part to be used to offer us.
So they can do 6 or 7.
So it's really like, what's the point? So my question is, where's the money really going? Because if they really wanted to make an impact, they certainly would have dedicated more money. And but this program that they're testing is expected to be completed within 18 months. And so I don't see how.
Why not just give the homeless a key to your front door, and we'll give you $75 to let half a dozen or 10 of them live in your house.
I mean, I don't
even have to build the second dwelling.
I don't think that's going to help with the 55,000 people that are sleeping on the sidewalks or in their cars. So,
it's not likely to make much of a dent.
I wouldn't think so. So again, where's that money? What is it really tagged for? It just makes you question. But again, there's problems, and Los Angeles County isn't the only county that has a problem. I think you're seeing this more and more everywhere around this country. It's just no one's talking about it.
Well, one thing I saw years ago, I visited India back, 1965, long time ago. But one of the things, there's a lot of people, millions of people, at least hundreds of thousands, I don't know what the real number was, I'm going to guess millions, who are homeless in India. But the reason that's possible is because India, or at least much of India, has a pretty benign climate. You can afford to sleep on the street when it's not freezing at night. Right? And what I'm getting to is that the same thing is probably true with California. The warm weather makes it, who wants to be homeless in Chicago? Who wants to be homeless in Minnesota? Too cold to be sleeping on the street. All right, that's not fun. But you can do it. You can do it in L.A. You can do it in Calcutta, right? The temperatures are warm enough. The climate is sufficiently benign where it's, you don't absolutely have to have a house. You can get by. So, I don't know. It's another one of the reasons why the number of homeless may be increasing in California. But it is interesting to me that they're offering $75,000 to build a second dwelling. Mm-hmm. Now, I wonder can I build a house for myself in California for $75,000? Do you think that would meet the zoning regulations and the rest of that sort of thing?
Well, because of the homeless and so forth, they're going to remove a lot of the requirements.
Yeah, I understand.
And they're going, so yeah. And the thing of it is, if the program doesn't work, here you get a $75,000 basically garage. It does have to have a kitchen built for free. If the program doesn't work, the homeless doesn't need to be there after a year, and you got a free building.
Yeah.
You got a free building, so. Anyway.
Well, I don't know if $75,000 will actually pay for the entire cost of building a second dwelling, but just the same.
It doesn't have to be that big. It doesn't have to be that big. As long as it has a bathroom and a kitchen.
There's zoning requirements for us. Can I build a $75,000 home in California?
Well, those zoning requirements will be eliminated or reduced. So the article said. But right before we head into a break, we'll be going into a break pretty soon. I watched a movie this weekend. It was Orson Welles about when he did the radio program back in, I can't read, 33, I believe it was, about the Martians coming. We were being invaded and so forth. The War of the Wars. Wars of the World. What? I need my second cup of coffee out.
Easy for you to say.
And it was about this little town in New Jersey that was, maybe 30 miles from the town where the Martians were to have landed and so forth. And they didn't hear that it was it was just a fake radio show. Mm-hmm. And they really thought that the Martians were coming. And it shows how this little town, it's kind of a quirky little movie. I mean, it wasn't any, and it just showed.
It was a big thing at the time. There was a panic in this country where people, oh my God, the Martians are coming, getting their shotguns.
But then they were later told, and
it was a Halloween
prank
program.
Yes. Yeah. But it showed how the town changed and the people and so forth. Well, we were going to talk about Guam, how the radio stations terrified locals after accidentally broadcasting their nuclear threat warning. It's a short little article. Then we'll go into about Americans spending on lottery tickets, and of course something a little more in depth about the International Monetary Fund. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, proposes central bank digital currencies. So we'll be heading into a break here in just a few short moments. I just want to make sure that you all stay tuned. You are listening to Power Talks. I'm Melody Cedarstrom, and my guest and co-host, Alfred Adask. We'll be back in just a few short minutes.
You're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com worldwide. Freedom is never free. We need your support today at FirstAmendmentRadio.com.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com worldwide. Freedom is never free. We need your support today at FirstAmendmentRadio.com.
And welcome back. You're listening to Power Talks. I'm Melody Cedarstrom, and my guest and co-host, Alfred Edith. I can't say your name right this morning, Al. What is it?
I have no idea, Melody.
I've been saying it for how many years? 15
I don't know.
years?
Something like that.
Something like 15 years. Anyway, my guest and co-host,
You got the Al part right.
Alfred. You're just going to be known as Alfred today. And folks, this program is sponsored by Discount Gold and Silver Trading. We got great pricing, great service, and truth in purchasing gold and silver. Give us a call at 1-800-375-4188. That's 1-800-375-4188. Make sure you get to the website at dgscoins.com, dgscoins.com. You can sign up for our weekly newsletter. It comes out Mondays, and it's an ever-growing publication, so it's a great little news article. And, of course, you can listen to programs, radio programs, live and at the archive. So check out the website, dgscoins.com. Right before the breakout, we were talking about Guam. We were talking about, and this is just a little interesting article that reminded me of my movie this weekend when the Guam radio stations, they actually terrified the locals.
Not the Guam. Oh, yeah, okay.
Guam,
I get what you're saying.
They actually terrified the locals after broadcasting the nuclear threat warning.
Mm-hmm. Which gives a whole new, a whole new slant on fake news.
Yes.
You're going to be bombed. You're all going to die in a nuclear war. Oh, that was just fake news. All right. We were talking about it was War of the Worlds. H.G. Wells story, and I can't think of the man. Who was the guy? Orson Welles. Orson Welles had produced the program back in the 1930s, and people believed him. It was a Halloween program. It was kind of a just for fun. But people tuned in and they thought, "Oh my God, the world really is being invaded." Well, this is a little of the same thing. Guam radio stations terrify locals after accidentally broadcasting nuclear threat warning. I mean, this is a mistake. You understand? This is a big mistake when you tell people we have a nuclear war going on. Right? This is cause for duck. My God, here come.
Duck and cover.
And they excused it as, and this happened on 2 stations.
2?
Yeah, 2 at the same time. KTWG and KSTO radio stations. It was excused as human error, but the excuse neglected to explain how employees working independently at 2 different radio stations managed to make the same mistake at almost the exact same time. How'd that happen, Melody? Is that something we can pick up out of was that in the tea leaves, the astrology, get a Chinese fortune cookie, so you're going to have 2 radio stations, going to broadcast the same fake news at the same time? How'd that happen?
I don't know. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Well, we would need to check with Todd, the producer of the program, because he could probably explain that to us.
Maybe we should pull up Google Earth and see if Guam is still there.
Yeah, maybe it was nuked. Who knows? Maybe that's the truth. And they're just suppressing the news. It was nuked, but we're not telling anybody yet.
And that's why everything is fine with North Korea. Maybe that's why everything is fine with North Korea now.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Here's another thing that's interesting, though, about this report. It says Civil Defense said in a statement, this is Guam Civil Defense, and they said the unauthorized test was not connected to any emergency, threat, or warning. And this is from Guam Homeland Security. And then the article goes on and it says Guam Homeland Security Advisor George Chafos reminded residents that they should remain calm, even in the event of a credible threat, because the U.S. government has capabilities in place to safeguard the island. So if they're warning about a nuke, don't worry about it. All right,
yeah.
Government's got it all under control. Don't worry about a thing. But here's the point. Guam Homeland Security is part of the Homeland Security of the United States. Now, this is interesting because, I don't know, about 3-4 years ago, I wrote an article on Homeland Security, which included a photograph of a graphic that was being presented in Congress of the homeland, right? And they identified the homeland as Mexico, United States, and Canada. The homeland, contrary to what most people would probably suppose, is that, well, of course, it's the 50 United States. That's the homeland. The homeland is Canada, United States, and Mexico. And here we have Guam as apparently part of the homeland also. Out in the Pacific, out near Japan. Right? Guam, right? Part of the homeland. Puerto Rico's part of the homeland. This is part of the North American Union, or at least that's what appeared to be happening when I had the photograph. I think it was from Pelosi, I don't recall, but this graph that the graphic image of the homeland, and it included, you could see it was colorized, and it was Canada, the United States, and Mexico.
Well, you know
and that's what Homeland Security is here to protect. And it has to make you wonder, what's going on with your tax dollars? Why are we involved in protecting Mexico or Canada? And why are they involved with us?
What makes you wonder is if Homeland Security includes all the military bases, which means the surrounding areas, which means even those countries would be possibly included in Homeland Security.
Well, Guam certainly is, which is a territory of the United States.
That's what I mean. Are all the other military bases located throughout the world?
Are they part of the homeland?
Are they part of the Homeland Security?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I would really like to see the legal definition of the homeland in Homeland Security. Because they don't say national security.
And to think
right?
about
They say
it, Al.
Homeland Security. And it's not just a new and clever way of saying national as in national security. They're talking about a completely different context that includes, again, Canada and Mexico. And now Guam.
Yeah, and if it includes the military bases, and I think I remember something too, well, perhaps not, so I won't say it until I actually would confirm it. But yeah, it wouldn't just...
Go ahead and say it.
Yeah, I know, you just want me to...
It has a certain amount of flair. Okay, it's not
But
fake
if it
news.
does cover the military bases and the surrounding areas, then Homeland is certainly covering a lot of countries. And when we view the elite's agenda as globalism to include, one world governments, this would be part of the...
Absolutely.
Yes.
The Homeland has more to do with global government
Globalists.
than it does with the United States of America.
I never liked the word homeland.
I understand, but nobody bothers to define it. I'd like to know where the legal definition is for homeland in Homeland Security. And I'll bet you it's not easily uncovered. If it's there anyways, I'll bet it's not easily uncovered. But
what I was going to say, I did think at one point in time I remember reading something that did say they were extending Homeland Security. So to be more involved in places outside the country. And it might be referenced with the article that you were referencing as far as it showing Mexico.
Yeah, it was an interesting graphic, again, being presented to Congress. It was a graphic probably 3 foot by 4 foot or something like that someone had put together, and the homeland was, you could see, it was colorized and the rest of that, and it was really quite an astonishing revelation at the time, and we don't hear anything about it since then. We have Homeland Security, but everybody thinks Homeland Security is to protect the 50 states of the Union, and not so.
Well, it seems no one pays attention to things, Al.
I do, Melody.
You do. I do. Our listeners do, too. But there's a lot of folks out there, and I will play the lottery every now and again. But Americans spend more on lottery tickets than on movies, video games, music, sports, and books combined. Sport tickets and books combined. Combined.
Right.
And just recently we had a $350 million jackpot. I don't know if anybody got it or if it was
Mega Millions and Powerball lotteries.
But it really is amazing and it shows the mentality. It's just it's a lot of people who hope to get rich quick, and yet their odds of winning are... And I buy lottery tickets it gets up there in that $350 million range. I'll go out and buy a ticket or two. And I'll include tickets for, birthday cards and things like that.
I'll be selling lottery tickets this year, Melody.
Yes.
And you can buy them from me.
A lot of money.
They'll be a little more expensive than the ones you get down at 7-Eleven, but these are especially good ones. And you'll have a chance in 290, maybe 300 million of winning on Al's lottery tickets. So I'll take your money and I'll let you know if you win.
Yeah, those are. I think I'd take my money and go to Vegas. I think my odds might be a little bit better.
Nah, they wouldn't be any better.
But there are some stunning statistics.
Yep.
And in 2016, Americans spent more than $80 billion on lottery tickets last year. That is a lot of money. And do you believe people who buy the lottery tickets, do you believe they're the middle class or the lower class?
No, they make it pretty clear in this article that it's lower classes that do this. Mm-hmm. And the fact that people spend more money on lottery tickets than on movies, video games, music, sports tickets, and books combined. That's an almost astonishing revelation. All right, that's the sort of thing, my God.
$80
it's no wonder that people are ignorant on one hand, all right? But more than that. This goes to the idea of desperation. Right? How many Americans are still in the declining middle class and the growing lower class? For these kinds of people, this lottery means their only hope for success. Well, the odds may be a joke across for actuaries. Across the United States, they're another example of what has become a social tragedy. Nicholas Colas from Convergexes. He explained lotteries essentially target and encourage lower income individuals into a cycle that directly prevents them from improving their financial status and leverages their desire to escape poverty. And the result is that the people who buy these lottery tickets, most of this money is going to the government. All right?
No.
Which is to say, the people that are buying the lottery tickets are paying more taxes. And they are typically the poorer people in the country. Right? It's not the rich people that are buying lottery tickets. They buy congressmen and senators. Poor people buy lottery tickets. So Americans are lining up around the block to buy lottery tickets. Summary, American adults spend an average of $251 on lottery tickets. Presumably that's per year, with a return of 53 cents on the dollar, which means you're going to, on average, the average person threw away $118 on unsuccessful lottery tickets. Not a great investment. I have to admit that if the average return is 53 cents on the dollar, that's not a terrible return for gambling. All right? You have a chance. The average return is 53 cents on the dollar. You spend $1, you get 53 cents back. On average, it's a losing proposition, that's for sure. But it's not like you're losing 99% of your money. You're losing 47% of your money. And you got a chance at maybe getting, a couple $100, couple $1,000. I mean, your odds on hitting the $350 million prize are not high. But still, Americans, adults, spend an average of $251 on lottery tickets, and I assume that means per year. Last time I bought a lottery ticket, I'll bet you was 5-8 years ago. I don't remember last time I bought one clearly, but
well, I certainly
I can't imagine people spending $251.
What's
$5
sad is they don't have the money to afford a $400 emergency or a $1,000 emergency, but yet they have $251 to spend on lottery tickets.
But it's evidence of a financial condition in this country. It's evidence of a psychological condition in this country. And it does not bode well for the future. It does not bode. A lot of people are so desperate to escape their impoverished condition, their lower middle class, their hopeless condition, and that they're give me a lottery ticket, give me a fix. It's like doing drugs. And I know. I mean, I bought lottery tickets, and you say, yeah, I just feel this one's going to do it. No, it's not. But you get that feeling, and you know it's a fraud. But you get that feeling, and you can hold on to it for a couple of weeks. Say, yes, I think this one's a one, and it makes you feel good. But it's evidence that people who buy this don't feel good. Lots of people don't feel good. That's not a good indicator for the economy. It's not a good indicator for the country. I mean, these are the kinds of people that might show up at Charlottesville on either side. They're people that are trapped, or they feel trapped, and they don't feel optimistic. And in the midst of that disappointment, in the midst of that desperation, they become vulnerable to grab onto anything that gives them a little bit of hope. And including whatever side you're on in Charlottesville. For some degree, to some people, that was giving them a little bit of hope. It shouldn't be that way. And it exposes people. This is the same sort of thing that happened in Nazi Germany.
and I don't know if I see any. Well, yeah, Nazi Germany. I don't know about Charlottesville. But what I get upset about this, and some of this lottery money to the states, it does go to, I know in Pennsylvania it went to Meals on Wheels and, some elderly programs, and it can go to some of those to help. But it's nothing more than a tax.
Yeah.
I mean, if states were run properly. If states were run properly, and if they had any accountability to their budgets, they would still be able to provide Meals on Wheels to the elderly and maybe, help with some, programs to the poor and so forth. But they're not run properly. They're abusive in their responsibilities to carry a budget and accountabilities. That's the problem. Yeah, their only responsibility is to make sure their pensions are paid anymore.
And that isn't going to happen. I mean, they don't even follow that responsibility. Government was Smedley, maybe Butler, I don't recall, but a Marine colonel, maybe a Marine general back, I think it was circa World War I. He wrote a book on war, and he said war is a racket. All right? I think government's a racket, too. I think, they come out and tell you all the good deeds they're going to do, and all they need to do is take a little more of your money because we've got a really important plan. And all they're doing is putting this nation into poverty and maybe ultimately austerity of the sort that you see in Greece. This is coming because everybody's got a great plan. I'm going to give you something for nothing. How about, here's my plan. I'm not going to take any of your money, and I'm going to leave you keep what you earn, and if you don't earn any, too bad for you. All right? Get a job, get an education, get what you need to do. These great plans, the overhead on the plans alone.
I mean, I get that. But the thing of it is we have such corruption and fraud in these state agencies. You can't tell me that $16 billion per state, if people are spending $80 billion or whatever, just rough estimates, are going to the needy. It's going to other programs. And again, I'm not going to go back, as I always do, to the gold standard. There's just no accountability in any of these offices. And that's what needs to stop. And, you're right, Al. These people are reaching for something. I mean, I do it for fun. Look at these gambling casinos that have popped up over this country. I remember at one point in time, the only place you could gamble in this country was Las Vegas.
Or in the back alley. The back alley.
Then all of a sudden you see the Indians and the reservations. You saw casinos popping up in those areas. Then we have Atlantic City. And a lot of them are failures because they, people, of course, during bad times can't support them, and they go out of business just like anything else does. But there's a sense that people, I mean, I don't know if some people say they do it for entertainment. I don't buy that.
No, I don't either.
Maybe to some
I'm
degree,
going to be entertained by a slot machine.
Yeah, for about 5 minutes.
I'm going to be entertained by a roulette wheel.
Yeah, for
whatever.
5 minutes. So usually, unless you're a true hardcore gambler, that's something different. But the bulk of the people do it because it's that get-rich-quick type thing that has been
it's a fantasy.
Promoted.
They're buying a fantasy. For whatever the price of the lottery ticket is, they're buying a fantasy that they are somehow going to come to a happy ending. And I think that happy ending will be a function of their income. And I don't know. This is the kind of thing that can blow up in everyone's face. Again, the Nazis came to power at a time when people in Germany were badly depressed. They'd been the damage of World War I and the consequences of World War I. They were desperate. They were looking for a lottery ticket of their own, and what they got was Adolf Hitler. He promised them a certain kind of hope. And when people are desperate for hope, they will. I mean, this is an environment where a politician who was able to advocate things in the same sense that Hitler did. People are susceptible. What we see with the lottery tickets is evidence that people are susceptible. The right guys show up, and the world just might, the country could follow them.
I just want to give these
not
two.
A good thing.
No. I just want to give these two stats that are here. One figure shows that households making less than $13,000 a year spend a full 9% of their income on lotteries. And researchers found that people who felt poor bought almost 2 times as many lottery tickets as those who were made to feel more affluent.
Desperate, and that's what it really is a function of. That's what this is, evidence of desperation. And that desperation is evidence of potential political volatility. People won't know what they're doing, but if somebody promises the right thing at the right time, they're going to jump on the bandwagon.
And then you can look at the people who win the lotteries. They're broke.
Within 5 years, I think the average guy who wins, I think it's half the people who win the lottery, significant money, they wind up bankrupt within 5 years. Half of them.
I have a client, and he lives in a fairly wealthy neighborhood, and his new neighbor, they had won the lottery, and they bought this big old fancy house. I don't know, it was like $20 million that they won. This is in Michigan. And they bought this big old fancy house, and within, 2 years they were divorced. She got heavily, so that was split, so they each got $10 million. And she got heavily involved in drugs, and she lost it all. She lost the home and lost $10 million. It all went up her nose. People think, well, how can you put $10 million up your nose? It's very easy, folks. When you get to that point. But also what we have coming up is we're almost to break. And I just want to remind people that we do have a telephone number, 717-300-1218, if you'd like to give us a call, if we stay on topic. Alfred and I will be right back right after these few short advertisements.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.
Welcome back to listening to Power Talks. I'm Melody Cedarstrom, and my guest and co-host is Alfred. My buddy, my friend. And thank you for joining me and filling in while Beth Ann is gone. Tomorrow, you and I did an interview with Greg Hunter of USAWatchdog.com earlier in the week. And I will do a live in the beginning of the program for about 8 minutes, and then we're going to cut to the interview with Greg Hunter of the USAWatchdog.com, because it was an interesting interview with him, and we have him on a program quite often, once a month, and he does bring a lot of great information to the program. So you will hear that tomorrow, so make sure you do tune in tomorrow for Power Talks. And again, if you have any questions or comments, you can call us at 717-300-1218. We have about 10 minutes left of the program, Alfred, so I'm going to let you choose your topic.
An article here from the Washington Post called The Curse of Middle-Aged Capitalism.
Middle-aged.
And it points out revolution that's taking place in this country, and we're not paying close attention to this, most of us aren't, but it'll illustrate that. It'll take me a paragraph or two before we get to the illustration, but hang on tight. It says a persistent puzzle about the U.S. economy is how it can seem both strong and weak. On the one hand, it remains a citadel of innovation, producing new companies such as Uber. On the other hand, the economy is expanding at a snail's pace of 2% annually since 2010. How could both be true? Why isn't innovation translating into faster growth? The answer, or part of the answer, is that American businesses are running on two separate tracks. Call them youthful and middle-aged tracks. You can't miss the youthful capitalism. The Googles of the world dazzle with their rapid innovation. Their dynamism is reassuring. Meanwhile, many less visible but more numerous older firms are treading water. They're struggling to generate higher revenues and profits from mature markets while facing new competitive threats. It is arguably the firms running the second track, the middle-aged capitalism, that have dominated the economy since the Great Recession. Now, here's the point. This is where it becomes interesting and offers some insight, at least in my opinion. To be sure, America's business aristocracy has shifted. In 1995, the largest 5 firms by market capitalization, the value of the company's shares, were old-line businesses: Exxon, AT&T, Coca-Cola, General Electric, and Merck pharmaceutical operation. By 2015, this is 1995, they just listed the 5 biggest corporations in the country. By 2015, this is 20 years later, only Exxon, now ExxonMobil, remained. The others were replaced by Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. Still, middle-aged capitalism has slowed the recovery. Well, what I want to get to is this. 4 of the 5 biggest corporations in the country are now computer-based. Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon are the 4 that are 4 of the 5 largest corporations. The only one that remains from the previous 5 largest 20 years ago is Exxon Energy. This signals that there is a kind of revolution that's taking place in this country. And the people that are clinging to the older corporations are going to find themselves challenged. It doesn't mean that these older corporations are going to disappear, but they are certainly being challenged. At the same time, we have Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon rising and taking control and exerting great influence. And you have to wonder, is this only a technological revolution? Is that all we're looking at? We have desktop computers and the internet, and therefore we have major internet-based corporations, computer-based corporations. Is that all we're looking at? Or does this go to a rising police state also? You know, when we had Exxon, AT&T, Coca-Cola, General Electric, and Merck, really didn't have the capacity to study us and track us. Right? The computers do. And when we lose that Exxon, AT&T, Coca-Cola, General Electric, and Merck, old school corporations, insofar as they are diminished, they're not out of business, but they're diminished, and they're replaced by Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, does this bode well? Is this just a matter of a technological revolution, or does this imply that we're headed for a social revolution and even a political revolution where the government and the people in positions of power are able to track us on a daily basis? What do you think, Melody? Are Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon more conducive to a police state?
Absolutely. And I mean, if you look at the companies and what they did, and it's actually frightening to see the control these corporations have now. I mean, with what's going on, you read already at Google and Facebook, they're already beginning to try to change what people read, what people see, what people think. And we talk about a police state, but yet even that's going to be redefined, I think, to some degree, because you have computers that are basically controlling everything. Mm-hmm. And it's really frightening. And to me, what is even more frightening is the youth who embraces the Apples, the Googles, the Microsofts, the Amazons. You know, the greater technology, the better it is. You know, hey, there's a firm in Wisconsin, chip me. People are waiting to be chipped. People want this. You know, it starts out like maybe a fad, but it's used, and they have to keep creating something bigger and better to interest people so they can get the money and continue to grow. It really is. These young people don't understand, I believe, what is happening.
Well, they can't understand it because...
Yeah, they can't.
The computer phenomena has become pervasive, and it's all they know. They don't remember the world from 1975 to 2015. They don't remember when we had AT&T and Coca-Cola and the rest of that. And it was a different world. They don't remember it, and therefore they don't appreciate it. Could they ever get back to anything like that? Could they even conceive of a loss? Can they sit back and say, gee, something's been lost here? We're moving into something like a police state, a computerized police state. Is that something that they can be worried about, or is it just so much part of their life that they just say, well, yeah, of course?
I mean, we can always hope and think that, yeah, there's enough teachings from parents and grandparents and enough there's a lot of smart kids, young adults out there. And naturally, as you become older, your thinking does change. Will it be too late?
It's not just your thinking, it's also your memory. If these kids don't remember what it was like when we had AT&T.
But also their teachings from their family and so forth will have a powerful impact. And yeah, that you're right, that's being limited also. So no, I think this is ushering in a different world.
There's a revolution taking place right now, and that was the reason. I don't know if it's a revolution
because they're embracing. They will embrace it.
Well, good.
It's a change.
I mean, I'm not advocating it, but I'm saying from the perspective of people who want this computerized utopia, they're glad that nobody's complaining about it, but I'm looking at it, I'm saying, wait a second, maybe we ought to pay a little attention here, and maybe there's something to be debated and considered. But we'll have to leave that consideration for another time because we are about out of time, Melody.
You noticed that, so I want to thank you for joining me, Alfred, today.
My pleasure.
You're going to do it soon and again, and I'm going to make sure the listeners tune in tomorrow for Power Talks with Beth Ann and Melody in the morning. Until then, be safe and have a great day.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.